Is it all right if I speak back here so I'm not blocking anybody? The next step is to move forward with the $2 million and break it into a budget. Basically, you've been approved for a stimulus bond under the stimulus package called Qualified School Construction Bonds, in which you may use the proceeds for renovation and equipment, but not new construction. Your cost of issuance cannot exceed 2%, and you must spend the money in 3 years, and you must start to spend it within 10% within the first 6 months. The stimulus piece is basically you'll receive 100% credit back on the interest that we sell bonds at to give you a net zero borrowing. In addition, we hope that we will structure payments to where you'll make payments into an investment account and then retire the bonds at the final maturity, and we think maybe even have a negative cost of borrow. But let's take a look at the budget. A $2 million qualified school construction bond, we anticipate the hard construction cost to be approximately $1,760,000. The soft construction costs are the architect and engineering fees, equipment, insurance during construction, items like that. We estimate that to be approximately $200,000. The cost of issuance is the cost to actually get to the bond market. That's what's limited to 2%, and that's what reflects the $40,000. My current estimate is about $38,000. So I know at one of my earlier meetings I suggested there's a possibility you might have to pay additional funds out of capital projects. We now have quotes from everybody, and I think we're going to be down below the 2%. If we go to the next slide, how do we repay the $2 million? Which basically is a structure of repayment of principal only because the interest is netted out through the stimulus. We anticipate starting payments in 2012 and then continuing those out for a period of time. If you recall the stimulus, we get 0% interest if the rate we sell bonds is at or equal to or at or below the federal tax credit rate. That is a moving target. So what we've got is we anticipate your maximum increase per $100 of assessed value to be approximately $3 or 3.15 cents per $100 of assessed value. You'll see in parentheses that I've put 2.3 cents per $100 of assessed value. That is reflecting this amortization right here. We have shortened the amortization to give us protection in case we have to shorten the maturities, and that's the 3.15 cents. If we're in the market today, I think we're closer to that 2.3 cents versus the 3.15. But in your resolutions, it'll reflect the 3.15 cents. You'll see that that equates to roughly $8.22 per $100 to $1,000 home per year, or $24.54 for $200,000 home, $40.35. 85. I'm only one step off. Right here, it's perfect. 40.85 per $100, or for a $300,000 home per year, or about 53 cents on a base farm property using the 2012 base assessed value of $1,690 per acre.
And that's based on the 3.15, not the 2.3.
Correct. That is based on our maximum estimate.
So the actuals could be almost a third.
Almost a third of that, yes.
So somebody that has a $60,000 house could be paying a couple bucks a year more.
Correct. The other point I've highlighted up there, if we were in the bond markets today with a traditional tax-free bond, we would have to pay an additional $535,000 in interest. So that's an attempt to try to make a comparison. Tax stimulus bonds versus the traditional financing. We believe this program right here in today's market would save about $535,000 of taxpayers' tax bills over the life of the borrowing. Okay, at this point I would turn it back over to questions or to open it up for public discussion.
Okay, one question.
Yes.
In that first year that we're raising funds to pay off or pay into an account for the principal, do we also have to raise enough tax money to offset the interest? even though that the feds are supposed to be paying that?
The process we will have is your lease payment will be in an amount great enough to cover the interest. The intent is that you will receive your federal stimulus money prior to a lease payment being made. So you will only levy for the principal payment. To the extent the feds are slow in paying, then our intent is you would use cash balance to handle that first payment and then levy the next year to catch back up, if you had to, if they didn't pay it off. So the intent is not to levy for the interest at all, it's only to levy our payment. However, your lease payment will be in a number great enough to cover total P&I, or principal and interest, if needed as a fallback.
And how often are payments made?
Payments are made semi-annually,
What would the interest be on a semi-annual payment? And it's relevant because if the feds don't have our reimbursement by then, if it's a couple $1 million, we
Oh, no,
could.
your payment, as an example, every 6 months, the interest due would be approximately $50,000. So
Do we
about
have,
100,000.
Brandon, 50 grand laying around?
Yeah, you'd be just a short term.
Like the way he said that.
Sure we do.
Yeah, 50 grand.
In your cash balance, you could not just continue to fund that out of your cash balance. You would need to levy to come back and pay that off if you were not going to receive the payment.
Right. But for the short term, month and a half, we can cover it.
To date, our understanding is they have been on time with all Q scabs.
So there are some systems that have exercised this process.
We've had a full year and 3/4 of this process, and a full year under the new tax credit, and they are on time. Now, you do have to submit, but part of this transaction would not be put that on your shoulders. Your trustee bank, as part of their obligation, is to make filings to the feds no more than 90 days ahead and no shorter than 45 days ahead. And they will make those filings. The money should then come into the trustee bank and payment then go out at that point.
So if we'd had a project going prior, which we don't, and we borrowed $10 million at basically no interest to us, and we'd have held that $10 million in an account and earned interest on that money, that would have been pretty nice.
It would have been a nice efficient financing. And what I meant by and what I think what Mr. Donaghy's talking about is the way we plan on doing this is if the final maturity is in 2025, that's when we would actually pay off bonds. Prior to that, every payment goes into an investment account, and albeit today we're not earning much, but every penny you earn goes to reduce a payment in the future, and thus brings the total payments down less than your total principal. So if you look at a $10 million with 0 interest, and you see 500,000 savings on a $2 million deal, you know, do the math. There's a real tax savings as well as the potential for some negative borrowing costs.
So Jim was making the presentation to us for the previous project. His projections were more accurate with the stimulus included than with the conservative estimate not.
Yes.
Which was considerably lower than.
And that's kind of a shame that it got lost in the translation, because truly, it almost was easier to get approval for the $2 million to $10 million piece than it was the $2 million piece, because there were much fewer applicants for that.
So I have no further questions, but we need to open this up for public input.